Buddha teaches 9 terrifying karmic retributions in old age for the sin of adultery. Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. Dear audience, there is an old saying, when one is full and idle, one seeks lust. As material life becomes increasingly abundant, people also lose more of their pure, beautiful moral values. They no longer fear cause and effect, they scorn ethics, indulge themselves, and pursue the so-called one-night stand, the fleeting pleasures of illicit affairs, thereby plunging into the whirlpool of sin, bringing suffering and severe misfortune upon themselves. Stories of adultery and the accompanying law of karma have always served as lessons for people to live rightly and ethically. In this era, advising someone not to commit adultery, not to indulge in sexual misconduct, is indeed harder than reaching the heavens. Few believe in doing good to gain blessings, or that sexual misconduct leads to disaster. Few believe in karmic retribution. News of debauchery, robbery, rape, and murder attract far more readers than stories of kindness and virtue. We may not worry for ourselves, but what about our descendants? What will become of them if day by day they are steeped in these evil and depraved behaviors? Below are the 9 terrifying karmic consequences in old age for the sin of adultery. Everyone should hear them at least once in their lifetime. First consequence: one's children and grandchildren will not have a day of peace. It is not without reason that people say, a daughter inherits her father's merits and a son inherits his mother's. The invaluable asset parents leave their children is not material wealth, but virtue and goodness. From a parent's conduct, one can foresee whether their children's future will be morally upright and good. If parents live honestly and kindly, their children will be well behaved. Conversely, if parents live against ethical principles, their children will follow suit. Sadly, many men have compromised their children's future due to their own momentary lust. The ancients said, if the tree is lush, its leaves are green. Good parents leave virtue for their children. If parents live honestly and sincerely, their children will enjoy blessings. Conversely, if a father's life is immoral, his children will suffer the consequences, inevitably bearing karmic debts. If a woman destroys another's family, becomes a mistress, she might avoid being caught and beaten by a jealous wife, and she might keep her illicit affair secret. But karmic retribution will not spare her. If a mother was once a third party, then one day her children's marriages will also be invaded by another third party. Even if the husband stealer is wealthy now, her children may end up poor and despised by society. A promiscuous woman will be shunned by her descendants at the end of her life, left in loneliness, and after death fall into the 18 hellish realms, never to find release. Therefore, if you are planning to interfere in someone else's marriage, be warned. Do not invite karmic calamity upon yourself and implicate your parents, children, and grandchildren. A story is told. My cousin, now nearly 40, remains unmarried. It's not that she is overly picky. It's that every man who comes into her life finds some excuse to break up after a while. After 3 failed relationships, she ended up alone. Out of curiosity, I asked my mother, why does every man leave her? My mother sighed. Poor girl, she has done nothing wrong. The cause lies with her father. Mother recounted, my uncle desperately wanted a son, but my aunt gave birth to only 2 daughters and then refused to have more children due to financial hardship. My uncle tried to persuade her repeatedly, but she wouldn't relent. He grew disheartened and neglected his family. Longing for a son to carry on his line, he drank heavily and grew irritable. Whenever someone at the drinking table implied that a man without a son doesn't deserve a proper seat at the table, he would return home and beat his wife and children. When his wife refused to bear another child, he sought a son elsewhere, having an affair with a divorced woman. He hoped she would give him a son. Indeed, she became pregnant. Overjoyed, he cared for her meticulously, bringing her milk and nutritious foods every day. But tragedy struck. The fetus in her womb was a girl. Upon learning this, he refused to acknowledge the child as his and sought to escape the situation. Heartbroken, the woman wept bitterly, shamed by others. Overwhelmed by despair, she drowned herself in a river. Her death shocked the entire village. Everywhere, people gossiped and condemned my uncle for his cruelty and lack of conscience. My aunt, humiliated and distressed, fell ill and passed away a few years later. Pity my 2 female cousins. Wherever they went, people ridiculed them behind their backs. Although many years have passed, the shadow of that past still looms over my cousin's life. When she fell in love, the man's family refused to accept her after learning who her father was. In the countryside, when a family considers a bride, they often investigate her family background. Villagers told them of the dark past, saying marrying her would bring misfortune. So they firmly opposed the marriage. Men who commit adultery do so only thinking of their own pleasure and gain, never considering their loved ones. Although the affair is the man's wrongdoing, it is his children who bear the lifelong sorrow. Second consequence: in old age, not a single penny to one's name, children and grandchildren turning away in scorn. I once pitied an elderly neighbor, around 70, living alone without children or family. Another neighbor told me that his wife and children lived in a nice house not too far away. They were well off, with plenty of money, and his son even owned a car. I wondered why he lived in poverty by himself while they lived in comfort. It turned out that when he was young, he brought his mistress home and drove away his wife and children. Seeing his wife and children treated so cruelly, forced to find shelter with her family, everyone shed tears of sympathy. But the bond between a man who betrays his family and a mistress who steals another's husband is never enduring. Soon after, when she realized he had no wealth, the mistress left him. Still, he continued to gamble, drink, and chase after women. Meanwhile, his abandoned wife, with the help of her maternal relatives, gradually rebuilt her life, started a business, and supported their children. Their children loved their mother and studied diligently. All three found good jobs and decent incomes. They repaid their mother's hardship by pooling money to build her a fine house, giving her a comfortable life. As for him, his children refused to acknowledge him. Although occasionally they sent him some clothes, food, or a bit of money through acquaintances, they treated him like a stranger. He once tried to apologize and atone for his mistakes, but his wife and children did not agree to a reunion. Sometimes, out of compassion, the children would have someone deliver necessities to him, but accepting him back into the family home as if nothing had happened was impossible. At 70, poor health ravaged by alcohol, he lived alone, racked with illness and regret. At this age, people should enjoy peace and stability, surrounded by their offspring, finding comfort in the twilight of their lives. Yet he had only loneliness to keep him company. When he was young, he never imagined that his adultery, gambling, and heartless treatment of his family would lead him to such a miserable old age. Through this story, we understand that in front of an adulterous man, people, be they relatives or friends, might still treat him normally, but behind his back, all respect and esteem vanish. Unwittingly, he loses valued relationships. An adulterous man's life is inevitably marked by losses. In times of crisis, few will be eager to help him. But the most painful blow is when his own children refuse to acknowledge him. A man whom his children will not even look at is facing the greatest failure and humiliation. Men who commit adultery will never have a good outcome. Strangely enough, men do not fear this, still plunging headlong into wrongdoing. The third consequence: total ruin, disgrace, and a deformed existence. There are many who were born with the features of prosperity and nobility, and should have lived in wealth and comfort, yet they stumble through life, beset by hardships. Some are highly gifted, intelligent, and outstanding, yet their endeavors fail repeatedly. When we enter this world, most of us carry with us a good destiny, wealth, prosperity. But due to committing this sin, adultery, whether intentionally or unintentionally, these blessings can be stripped away invisibly. The karmic retribution for adultery and sexual misconduct is indeed terrifying. The sin of adultery and sexual misconduct also brings another dreadful consequence known as the dissipation of the spiritual essence. Regarding this retribution, the Venerable Master Xuanhua taught that, according to the law of cause and effect, sexual misconduct is among the gravest sins, punished most severely, especially among married couples who divorce and then remarry. Based on the law of karma, at the time of death, their bodies will be cut in half. Because in life they maintain two relationships. In death, karmic investigators appear with a great saw to cut their bodies from the top of the head down through the body into two parts. During life, for each act of sexual misconduct, after death they are cut that many times. If they married 100 times, when they die, they will be cut into 100 pieces to be divided among those with whom they were once involved. Being divided in this way is disastrous. Once the spiritual essence is scattered into fragments, it is nearly impossible to reassemble it. It may take hundreds of thousands of eons without regaining a human form. At that point, their spiritual nature is so dispersed it merges with plants and vegetation, becoming a type of insentient life, mere flora. Once one's original nature is fragmented, returning to a sentient state is exceedingly difficult. And even if they do return as a sentient being, they may only be reborn as tiny creatures like gnats or mosquitoes. For instance, one human body could become 84,000 mosquitoes. Trying to gather those 84,000 mosquitoes back into a single human being would not be easy. Most of these mosquitoes would continue to be reborn as mosquitoes, drifting through the cycles of birth and death, never awakening, never abandoning their ignorance, never returning to the right path. Thus it is said, once the human body is lost, it may not be regained for countless eons. If you can grasp the severity of this, how can you not be afraid? In the degenerate age of the Dharma, the age of the decline of the law, the celestial and earthly deities watch over and enforce punishment for this crime very strictly. Retribution comes swiftly and severely. May all who are currently talented but struggling in poverty, whose families are not peaceful, whose children are frequently ill, reflect on whether they have committed such acts. Find a way to repent and change your destiny. Many scriptures speak of the karmic repercussions of sexual misconduct, yet very few people seek them out to read. The fourth consequence, causing one's parents to suffer utter shame and illness. When interfering in someone else's marriage, the third party not only causes harm to the wife, but also destroys a once happy home. They force the poor wife to bear the stigma of a cheating husband and cause the children to grow up in a broken, deceitful family. Once the affair with a married man is exposed, no matter how thick-faced the third party is, they cannot dare face their parents. Parents who raised them, never imagining that one day their child would discard all morals and dignity, lying down with another's husband. The humiliation, the gossip, and scorn from neighbors and society will weigh heavily on the parents, making them ill from shame. As children, forcing their parents into such a position is the height of filial ingratitude. The fifth consequence, a house in mourning, a shattered home, family broken apart, and even life-threatening dangers. For men, adultery can mean the downfall of their careers. For women, it brings a lifetime of humiliation. Buddha compared adulterers to murderers. Extramarital affairs are cowardly, vile acts that deserve severe punishment. Once committing sexual misconduct and adultery, a man may be left without heirs, face business failures, and endure a life of hardship and poverty. As for women, if they commit adultery, they may never be reborn as humans again, living instead as beasts through countless lives. A wise person, before committing adultery, must understand the grave karmic consequences of sexual misconduct. The punishments and suffering inflicted in hell are so severe that one would wish 1,000 times over never to have taken that wrongful path. Fleeting pleasure is momentary. A life of peace and virtuous conduct is the true purpose we should strive for every day. More than 2,500 years ago, Shakyamuni Buddha addressed the issue of adultery and its severe consequences. There is a story. One day, a married man came to consult the Buddha. He said, "Enlightened one, I am a married man, but I have fallen deeply in love with another woman. I truly don't know what to do." The Buddha asked him, "Can you be sure that the woman you now love is the last and only love of your life?" The man replied, "No, I cannot be certain." The Buddha then said, "Look at the 3 candles burning on the incense burner before you. Can you tell which candle burns the brightest?" The man said, "I cannot. They all seem equally bright." The Buddha continued, "These 3 candles are like 3 different women. Among the vast multitude of women, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, if you cannot distinguish which candle is brightest among just 3, how can you be certain this woman you love now is the one, the last and only one? Even if you think she is special, that feeling will pass. When you put her back in her place, that feeling disappears, and the candle is no different from the others." What you call your final and only love is like a flower in the mirror or the moon reflected in water, an illusion empty of substance. Hearing this, the man said, I understand now, dear compassionate Buddha. The one truly worthy of my treasure and love is my own wife. She is indeed the brightest candle. Regarding family happiness and marital life, throughout his teachings, the Buddha frequently reminded women to preserve their chastity and men not to give rise to lustful thoughts. He always emphasized fidelity and moral standards in society. The bond between husband and wife is complex and different from other social relationships. It binds a man and a woman from marriage until death. To uphold this bond, the Buddha established the 5 precepts for lay disciples, one of which forbids sexual misconduct. Adultery is a form of sexual misconduct. When one's mind is tainted with lust, one's actions and words cannot remain honest and upright. Sexual misconduct brings momentary pleasure but leaves immeasurable consequences. Buddhist teachings say that those who engage in sexual misconduct while alive, after death, will fall into the hells to endure various tortures. They may even be condemned to a Vichy hell, the deepest hell, where suffering is eternal and ceaseless, and where there is no chance of rebirth. Through the Buddha's story about the 3 candles, we clearly see a profound life lesson. Not always can one discern who they truly love and cherish most. Love is an illusion, elusive and hard to grasp. If you cannot determine who is dearest to you, why not treasure the person closest to you, the one who loves you sincerely? Many people, because of a fleeting emotion, abandon their family's genuine happiness. They fail to realize that adultery leaves unpredictable consequences. Families break apart, reputations and careers crumble. The ancients said, among all evil deeds, sexual misconduct is the foremost. The karmic retribution for sexual misconduct is indeed terrifying. The 9 most dangerous types of karmic consequences of adultery and promiscuity have been outlined above. Everyone must strictly avoid these errors lest their lives spiral downward without mercy. Dear friends, life is full of ups and downs. If you obsess over gains and losses, you will always worry. If you overly fixate on results, sooner or later you will be exhausted. Life is filled with suffering. There's no need to constantly be trapped in troubles. Learning to take things lightly will help life meet your expectations. Optimistic people often remind themselves, think openly, take things lightly, and live freely. Once you learn to lighten your perspective, you will see that life's troubles are nothing more than false alarms. Therefore, the secret to a happy life lies in achieving 4 simple things. Letting go of greed and resentment will bring peace. The sky isn't always clear. Sometimes it's overcast. Life has both favorable and unfavorable circumstances. If you encounter conflict and regard it as suffering, pressure naturally doubles. If you encounter conflict but keep your mind calm, pressure will be halved. Situations arise according to our mindset. A resentful person sees a bleak, miserable world. In adversity, if one harbors resentment, life will become even darker and may drag one into a quagmire of bitterness. Daily annoyance and anger can be likened to a specter gnawing at your heart, making you increasingly pessimistic. The more tolerant your heart, the less resentment you carry. Strive to be forgiving. Hurts inflicted from outside are like hidden rocks near a shoreline. At worst, they make the surf foam whiter and more beautiful. Remember that the ocean never complains and accepts everything. To harbor no resentment, learn to forget. Because when we cannot forget, we fall into sadness, annoyance, and resentment. If you say you can forgive but not forget, that is not true forgiveness. Such a person still clings to anger inside. A famous American civil rights leader said, "Forgiveness is the key that unlocks the door of resentment and the handcuffs of hatred. It is a power that can break the chains of bitterness and the shackles of selfishness. Let go of sorrow and you will live at ease." In life, out of 10 things, 9 may not go your way. If you cannot let go, you will be exhausted. If you remain entangled, you will invite more trouble. A young mother, always busy with work and children, also had to spend much time cooking and cleaning. If her husband frowned at her cooking, she immediately felt unhappy and resentful. Suppressed frustration made her life increasingly miserable. Then one day, hearing about a friend's family story moved her. She decided to calm herself and reflect carefully on her husband. She realized that not only was she working hard, but he was also struggling in his own way. His frown at the food might not mean it wasn't tasty, but could have stemmed from accumulated hardships in life. Her heart softened. She sympathized more with him. Although her life remained busy and tough, she now acted out of love and understanding and found happiness in it. In fact, often our greatest enemy is not someone else, but ourselves. A truly happy person isn't necessarily someone who has more, but someone who approaches everything lightly and comfortably. Number 2, letting go of pride frees us from many troubles. It's said that face or pride is very important in life. Indeed, in many cases, we lose many things that should have belonged to us simply because of so-called pride. In reality, pride is like a double-edged sword. It can help you be true to yourself, but it can also push you over a cliff. Everyone cares to some extent about their reputation, worrying about how others see them, or feeling distressed when their honor is damaged. During the economic downturn caused by a pandemic, a young college graduate had been out of school for several years, but couldn't find a suitable job. Fear of parental worry and friends' scorn made him anxious and stuck. Growing self-doubt led to resentment toward life, feeling that despite his hard studies, fate rewarded him with nothing. Eventually, he had to let go of pride and accept a job as a dishwasher in a small restaurant. There, he gradually learned patience, diligence, and perseverance. He learned how to arrange dishes beautifully, season stir-fries to please customers. Unexpectedly, these lessons forged him into a mature and experienced man, later becoming a manager of a chain of restaurants. In fact, pride is just an emotional manifestation. Whether a person is mature depends on whether they can bow their head on the road of life. Ego is a person's biggest weakness. The more one cares about others' opinions, the more tiresome life becomes. The more one cares about pride, the harder it is to let go, and life will be filled with dead ends. 3. Letting go of the past to live freely. Don't dwell on the past, and don't let the remainder of your days pass in regret. We must learn to let go. Only by freeing ourselves from the pain of the past can we live a carefree, worry-free life. When you take things lightly, you free yourself from past sorrows. The past is gone and cannot be changed. Only letting go can bring comfort. By learning to forget the past, life becomes free and easy. As the saying goes, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. If you want to live life on your own terms, you must learn to let go of the burdens and internal traumas to move forward toward a better future. Thus, only by letting go can the mind be at peace and life become increasingly fulfilling. The ancients said that there are 8 types of people who, the longer they live, the more abundant their blessings, and the older they get, the happier they become. Are you among them, dear friends? In a person's lifetime, whether their life is good or bad, whether they are blessed or not, actually, there are signs to recognize. Whether a person's life is good partly depends on fate and partly on their personality and way of life. If someone has good character and knows how to treat others, they will be filled with blessings. Such people rarely suffer losses, and those who are lucky and have lasting fortune often fall into these 8 types. Let's listen and see which type you belong to. First, a good attitude, no complaints. Living in this world, some things are within our control and some are not. If a person frequently complains when facing difficulties or failures, they lose their fighting spirit and even affect the morale of those around them. Such people often struggle to attract good fortune. On the other hand, those who do not complain about anyone or anything are blessed because they understand that complaining does not solve the problem. It only makes matters worse. They realize that instead of complaining, one should study and work hard to change oneself, and thereby change the situation. If a person wants their luck to improve, when encountering an issue, the first thing they should do is adjust their mindset. They should not always blame others. When facing challenges, we should understand that everything we experience is not there to make things difficult, but to teach us to grow. Only by calmly thinking, adjusting our mindset, and not complaining can we maintain a positive attitude and solve all the difficulties we encounter. In other words, not complaining and making an effort to resolve problems is the attitude a lucky person should have. Second, kind-hearted, bearing no grudges. As the saying goes, clear water has no fish. A person overly critical finds no friends. If someone is hot-tempered and harsh with others, they will have difficulty making friends because others feel it's hard to get along with such a person. In reality, in our lives, we often meet difficult people who magnify small mistakes of others and repeat them continually. Even when they've received an apology, they do not let it go. Truth be told, such individuals don't have many friends, and their relationships are very limited. They often struggle to get along with others and are not good at resolving interpersonal relationships. This is disadvantageous both to themselves and those around them. Conversely, people who are good-natured and know how to control their emotions, who are tolerant of others, can not only gain the respect and trust of those around them, but also earn a good reputation for themselves. When you are surrounded by good-natured individuals, it means you have many friends in life who are willing to work with you, helping you avoid a lot of trouble. Third, living with compassion. The joy of the world has always come from kindness. If one wants to have good fortune, one must start by being a kind-hearted person. A person with a benevolent heart naturally possesses a gentle, warm human nature. Toward family members, they show care and closeness. Toward friends, they are sincere and loyal. Toward strangers, they are fair and respectful, harmonious in their interactions. In life, they always think of others before themselves. The purpose of life is to live usefully, responsibly, earn respect, and know how to love. Above all, what truly matters is living for someone, living for something, and leaving your own mark in this world. When dealing with others, one should have a compassionate heart and respect them, regardless of who they are, whether noble or humble. Everyone should be treated equally and fairly, without bias. An open heart leads to open paths, while a narrow heart leads to constricted roads. When you often help others and accept help from them, treating people with kindness will, in turn, lead others to treat you kindly as well. Fourth, preserving one's character. In the hustle and bustle of life, with its worries and strife, sometimes we cannot avoid confusion. However, a person with integrity will always maintain their moral character under any circumstances. When faced with mixed blessings and pitfalls, a person's moral fiber serves as the brightest compass, guiding them through the dark clouds to find the sunlight. When the environment is chaotic and lacks direction, one's character is the most important thing they can rely on. A person with integrity will not forget great righteousness for small personal gains. In love, they do not make demands or rely on others. Remember that the only true sense of security is the one you build for yourself. Others cannot provide it for you. And if someone is capable, can establish themselves and be successful in society, they must not forget that people are most prone to moral lapses when living in conditions better than others. Fifth, having vision and not clinging to immediate benefits. Sometimes we must learn to let go appropriately. We cannot haggle over everything with others. Don't get angry over trivial things. If you care about every little detail, you will only exhaust yourself. An intelligent person thinks in the long term and does not dwell on immediate gains and losses. A person's generosity determines their life's breadth and height. In life, the greater one's vision, the less concerned they are about immediate losses, because they know how to live for the present. Compared to those who worry over every small detail, people with open minds can see the essence of matters clearly and find what they truly want. Conversely, those who are narrow-minded, not open to others, and focus on negative feelings, valuing everything too highly, can easily be hurt and distressed by minor things, wasting time and energy. A narrow mind only causes one to live in misery without any self-liberation. Only with an expansive heart can one live freely and be true to oneself. Sixth, striving to improve oneself. When a person truly stands out, they can attract others around them. The best state of life is when you have a clear understanding of yourself, know your direction, and work diligently toward your goals. You can only meet better people if you work hard to improve yourself and become better. There is a saying, when flowers bloom, butterflies will come. If a person is exceptional, the universe will arrange everything accordingly. Striving to improve yourself not only can change your life, but, more importantly, can bring you many unexpected surprises. When you become someone worthy of admiration, you will find that life is truly beautiful, and the rest of your life becomes very valuable. Please do not waste time on things that have no meaning or value in your life. Striving to improve yourself and become more outstanding is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Living in a well-ordered family. The family is a child's first school. Parents are their first teachers. Family tradition is the soul of the family, like a guiding light that helps it progress. Children who grow up in a family with good traditions know what is true, good, and beautiful, and they do not do bad things. They are kind-hearted, know right from wrong, and are filled with love. Wherever they go, they are kind and accommodating to others. In a family with established traditions and discipline, children are very obedient and polite. They are filial to their parents, respectful to elders, and loving toward their younger siblings. They abide by the law and regulations, follow the rules, maintain order, and have love and kindness in their hearts, as well as morality and discipline. Having a family with strong traditions and proper upbringing is a blessing. If a person inherits good family customs and discipline, they will steadily improve over time. Family tradition and education not only shape a person's worldview and perspective, but also determine their spiritual level and moral baseline. Eighth, being disciplined and knowing how to love yourself. Whether a person's life is good or not depends on their character and lifestyle. A disciplined person who loves themselves, no matter the circumstance, will always maintain their best state. They won't feel inferior if others criticize them, and they won't become complacent if others praise them. Because they are self-disciplined and love themselves, they can manage their emotions well and avoid bringing negativity to the people they love most. A person who does not know how to love themselves and only blindly pleases others to the point of self-harm is not worthy of love. Such a person tends to take others' kindness for granted and easily loses their temper when they don't get their way. Therefore, such people are hard to love and are easily hurt by others. Blessings be upon those who truly love themselves and exercise self-discipline. Only by loving yourself properly will you avoid harming yourself. Naturally, everyone wants to be loved and appreciated. To have a good life, you must learn how to be blessed, cultivate yourself, be disciplined, and know how to love yourself. A person who leads a good life is someone with blessings, for they know how to cherish what they have and learn to be content and happy. Such a person is like a seed that can root, sprout, bloom, and bear fruit. As for those who always run away and give up, they often exhibit 6 very bad habits. First, being harsh and critical. Those with thin blessings often speak harsh words. They treat others very coldly. Strict and difficult, they are never satisfied with anyone. Such people demand perfection from others, and whenever someone's standards don't match their own, they become extremely uncomfortable. In this life, no one is perfect. Even a perfect person would struggle to exist for long. The harsh and critical individual's words are sharp and lacking in empathy. They give others no dignity, often causing humiliation. Moreover, such a person loves to be the center of attention, lives selfishly, and never considers others. Second, greed. There is a saying, the human heart is never satisfied, like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. A greedy person always wants more. Even if they are wealthy, it's never enough. They feel perpetually unsatisfied. One must know contentment to be happy. Those who never know contentment ultimately fall into the trap of their own desires, sinking deeper the more greedy they become. Third, showing off intelligence. Those who like to flaunt their intelligence are actually insecure. They use flowery language but lack real blessings. People who brag about their cleverness often compare themselves to others to show off their superior intelligence, wanting others to follow them. We all understand that talent is determined not only by effort but also by innate ability. If heaven gives you a talent, it is meant for serving the public, not for boasting. When blessed with talent, one must continuously cultivate and improve it to become a better person. Fourth, always noticing others' faults. Some people deem themselves superior in intellect and status, so they look down on others. As soon as someone else speaks, they immediately contradict them and point out their faults, causing great embarrassment. Yet they are very lenient with their own shortcomings. Always refuting others not only shows a lack of self-cultivation, but from another perspective, it also means belittling oneself. A person without good fortune often utters unkind words. They always speak negatively, and over time, their behavior is affected and their fate grows increasingly bleak. Fifth, concern with saving face. In today's society filled with self-interest, many people believe that success means prioritizing pride above all. When someone lives only to maintain face, they inevitably have to serve others, thinking that this is the only way to be treated well. In reality, more than half of the kind words we hear are superficial compliments, pleasing to the ear but not genuine. Moreover, those who care too much about saving face cannot live openly and honestly with others because of their pride. They always want to please others and do not know how to refuse, making their lives increasingly difficult. Sixth, being absorbed in fame and fortune. For people, aside from life and death, the hardest trial to overcome is that of fame and fortune. When fame and fortune are within reach, it's difficult to restrain one's inner greed. There is a proverb, "A fence needs 3 stakes, a hero needs 3 helpers." Without help, no matter how grand your plan, it cannot be perfect. No matter how great your aspirations, they are hard to realize alone. When you grow old, learn to remain silent. It's best not to say certain words. The ancients said, "Be cautious in speech, let deeds and words align." Be extremely careful and consistent in both speech and action. Otherwise, 10,000 words are worth less than a single moment of silence. When a person becomes elderly, they are the senior in their family and in society. They need to uphold morality and teach through their words. Therefore, older people should learn to remain silent more often to maintain a dignified image. First, if you know you cannot accomplish what you say, don't say it at all, as this is more sincere. It's not hard to see that parents must closely understand their children's thoughts and behaviors, avoiding letting them utter grandiose words. Children and teenagers inevitably become proud and arrogant over small achievements, imagining they can become scientists or astronauts. As adults and elders, parents should not blindly encourage children to pursue lofty and pioneering goals. Instead, guide them to live realistically and within their means. We often mock Madame Vung who sells melons, a metaphor for bragging. In reality, many elderly people have unconsciously become like her. For example, as soon as they speak, they boast about how many decisions they made at work, how wise they are, and show off their credibility. They discuss their business experience, believing themselves highly skilled at making money. As you grow older, you need to be more realistic. If you can't do something, don't promise it to others, and don't claim it in front of your family. Remind your children in a timely manner about unrealistic thoughts and practices. Secondly, if you don't like what others say, remain silent to show respect and friendliness. There is a true story. In high school, a girl sat next to a very arrogant and lonely classmate named Kim Hoa. Kim Hoa had excellent grades but never talked to classmates and was used to being alone. One day, she learned that Kim Hoa lived in a family with only her father, and she had not seen her mother since she was 6. Her father tried his best to support the family, but they were still very poor. She invited Kim Hoa to her house, but Kim Hoa just watched TV by herself and rarely responded. Her parents respected Kim Hoa throughout, clearly having prepared themselves for this. Kim Hoa needed love, but a very silent kind of love. How to love others, how to care for the elderly and the young, cannot be explained clearly in a few words. It requires understanding the stories behind their lives with your heart. People you don't know often bear unspeakable sorrows and follow different paths. Between parents and children, there's already a generation gap, let alone with strangers. Therefore, a kind elderly person does not point fingers at those they do not know, but rather faces them with a smile. Within a family, it can be hard for parents-in-law to accept daughters-in-law and sons-in-law. The basic reason is that the elderly do not know how to show sincere closeness. Outside the family, we often encounter small malicious people because we do not know what they have experienced or their life ideals. Thirdly, if your knowledge is superficial, do not speak to avoid misunderstanding. Someone once said, "What can be said, say it clearly. What cannot be said, remain silent. What you know is what you know. What you don't know is what you don't know." When a person grows older, their experience naturally becomes richer, but that doesn't mean they should consider themselves omniscient. In summary, the path to a blessed and good life involves knowing yourself, being disciplined, loving yourself, showing kindness and understanding toward others, and choosing silence wisely when necessary. As society continues to develop, new things keep emerging, and we must continuously learn. For things you don't understand, you should remain silent and observe what will happen instead of hastily jumping in. For example, on your way to buy vegetables, you see a woman sitting by the roadside, her clothing disheveled. Instinctively, you assume that she's drunk and has done something bad. When a woman is wrongly accused, it's painful. Perhaps she's simply facing hardships and feeling sad. When we grow old, it's right to care about others, but that care should be measured and genuine. It's not always necessary to share our experiences. Most of the time, we should remain silent and observe the evolving story, staying an outsider who knows how to listen. Fourth, if it leads to mutual attacks, don't speak. This is the wisdom of backing down. One word out of place and anger flares, fists clench. Many elderly people, though physically weaker than before, still cannot control their tempers. The principle of action and reaction tells us that your attacks on others will come back to harm you. Speak fewer words, take the initiative to apologize, and the matter will pass, bringing peace of mind. Perhaps you aren't wrong, but if you don't know how to back down, you become wrong. Lowering your head essentially means stopping the harm. The ancients said they would not argue with anyone, nor would they look down on anyone. As people age, their wealth and physical strength fade away. Why use words to win a fleeting battle? Of course, silence does not mean staying silent all the time. It means using moments of silence to reflect, to shift the course of events, and avoid various conflicts. As Chukwukbin said, silence is closer to the essence than speech, and beauty is more valuable than power. Faced with the ups and downs of life, a mature person always observes and endures calmly. Unconsciously, we become accustomed to silence. In old age, right or wrong, merits or mistakes, it's best to laugh things off. In human interactions, if others don't offend you, don't offend them. If someone does offend you, just let it go, dear friends. The ancients said all things are impermanent, meaning that human life passes meaninglessly. The length of a human life, long or short, is only about a century at most. The water dries up, the clouds drift away, and human existence ends. Yet in our brief, impermanent lives, do not let hardships render your life meaningless. Greet the morning with a smile, and when dusk brings tears and the separation of yin and yang, what difference is there then? Within this fleeting impermanence, some people live meaningful lives, discovering the truth of existence. Others spend a lifetime struggling, yet all in vain. Legend has it that long ago, the white dragon horse, while still in the mortal world, became acquainted with a donkey. They were close friends, but each had different ambitions. One day, the white dragon horse was about to accompany Tang Sanzang to the western heavens to obtain the scriptures. Before departing, the white dragon horse went to say goodbye to the donkey and expressed that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, inviting the donkey to join him. After listening, the donkey looked up at the blue sky and white clouds, then at the flowing stream and green forest. Lowering its head, it bit off a mouthful of grass and spoke while chewing. Traveling to the western heavens is 108,000 miles, far too arduous and tiring. Furthermore, you'll be bound by all sorts of constraints. Why endure such suffering? The white dragon horse advised, such a fortunate opportunity is rare. If you miss it now, you may regret it for thousands of years. The donkey replied, that's too hard. I'm not going. I might even lose my life. I'm living quite comfortably now. My master treats me well, and I live happily and harmoniously with the other donkeys in the village. The western heavens are full of demons. Some days you might not even have a proper meal, and who knows if your head and body will remain intact. No, I'd rather not. Seeing the donkey's unshakable stance, the white dragon horse sighed, then resolutely began the journey with Tang Sanzang to fetch the scriptures. As he departed, the donkey called out, "If you ever return, be sure to visit me." 10 years later, when the white dragon horse and Tang Sanzang returned with the scriptures, the white dragon horse went to find the donkey. The donkey asked, "How have these 10 years been for you?" The white dragon horse replied, "Truly it has been 10 years of hardship, experiencing life and death, not easy at all." The donkey said, "I told you so at the start. I didn't want you to go, but you insisted. Look at me. Over these 10 years, I've lived very peacefully, without danger. My life has been meaningful. My donkey family has grown. We have everything we need. We may have aged a bit, but we have everything we want. Don't you regret it? The white dragon horse answered, "You may have lived in peace, but you've forever lost the chance to attain true enlightenment. You can only remain a donkey for all eternity. As for me, although I endured countless hardships, I will no longer have to return to the mortal world. From now on, I can enjoy the great blessings of life in the heavens. Moreover, during these 10 years, you have suffered no less than I have. You plowed fields and pulled carts, enduring wind and heat, and you have also grown old. Do you realize what you've lost? You will be a donkey forever, and perhaps in the next life you won't even have that chance." Hearing these words, the donkey suddenly understood something. It looked at the white dragon horse once more. The horse was no longer the thin creature from before, but now stood proudly, radiating a golden aura. Immediately the donkey banged its head against the wall and wept inconsolably. In reality, many among us lead equally meaningless lives like that donkey, enduring hardships but ultimately working in vain. Even at life's end, they do not understand the purpose of it all. Have you ever asked yourself if we are born just to die? Does human life have to be so meaningless? No, we are born with a mission. And what is that mission? The answer is only there for those who truly seek it. Dear friends, a human life is but a single journey. Mountains have paths, rivers have roots. In the blink of an eye, summer turns to autumn. Glancing back, youth has passed. A train has several stations, and life has several rest stops. After all, we are only passengers on the train of destiny. On this train of fate, if each person can maintain a mindset of everything follows its own course, cherishing each opportunity to meet others, then that is truly precious.
The application of the Noble Eightfold Path in life, right concentration. Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. Right concentration is the 8th level of the 8-story tower, heavily dependent on the 7 preceding levels. A right concentration to manifest early, remain steadfast, and last until the practitioner attains liberation. First 7 levels are indispensable. Right view is understood as the first level, establishing viewpoints, attitudes, and perspectives, eliminating superstition and fatalism, or the notion of predestination. Philosophies that assert a primary cause or attribute it to materialism are crushed by the insight of right view. Right thought refers to comprehension, transcending greed, hatred, and delusion, solving issues in a spirit of harmony, generosity, openness, forgiveness, and coexistence. The subsequent reactions, including speech, bodily actions, and right livelihood, form the ethical foundation within the social relationship, considered the result of correct thinking. Right effort is the thread running through all efforts, ensuring the success of rightful endeavors and the complete eradication of negative elements. As a result, a person attains right mindfulness in walking, standing, lying, sitting, awake, asleep, speaking, remaining silent, stretching, and retracting, whether in motion or stillness, all conforming to the truth of the path, truth of life, and the truth of humanity. Practitioner, with each step entering the Pure Land, perceives the Dharma body as such. Right concentration is the result. Many practitioners follow different methods, without emphasizing the first 7 factors, viewing right concentration as the cause to attain the result of enlightenment and liberation. Practicing this way sometimes leads to obstacles because the old worldly seeds still abound, easily creating a crisis in the practitioner's inner spiritual life. By following the natural process, one will not encounter any side effect. Right concentration should not be merely understood as mental focus. It is the training of the mind, based on the 3 wholesome elements: non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion. Many professions require high levels of concentration. However, if this focus is based on dissatisfaction, discontent, or discomfort, it is driven by hatred. Some forms of concentration arise from ignorance, quietly assuming one possesses high spiritual abilities, which is delusion. Right concentration is called stillness, or the cessation of thoughts rooted in greed, hatred, and delusion, or those factors important in leading to right concentration. Single-pointedness of mind. Right concentration, as taught by the Buddha, always includes the element of single-pointedness. There's only one object being used as a means of transforming the mind. There's no second image. Whoever is faithful to body, mind, and breath will achieve the highest level of concentration. Practitioner maintains the in-breath and out-breath, mindfully observing and seeing its operation clearly. Body, mind, and breath operate under mutual observation, present in all circumstances, which is called the manifestation of single-pointedness. This single-pointedness is the flow of right mindfulness. Single-pointedness and mindfulness are the two fundamental measures of right concentration. Any concentration in any field or profession that lacks these two elements is not considered right mindfulness. We can assess that a practitioner has attained mental right mindfulness when there is no more disturbance, akin to the surface of still water, without ripples, whether visible or submerged. It is unaffected by external influences on the internal life of the senses. The practitioner safely masters it, and the wandering mind has ceased. When there is no wandering mind, the eyes see, the ears hear, the nose smells, the tongue tastes, the body touches, and the mind perceives objects simply as seeing, hearing, smelling, and knowing. No emotional reactions, whether favorable or unfavorable, follow. Practitioner is never shaken, allowing no reaction to cling to the body, mind, circumstances, past, present, or future, thereby developing wisdom to the highest degree. In the Noble Eightfold Path, right concentration is regarded as the final factor. Thanks to right concentration, wisdom arises at the highest level. Right view correlates with right concentration, and right concentration sustains right view. Right concentration allows the other 7 factors to reach their highest level. Right concentration is both the cause and the result, both the process of practice and the culmination of all transformation, achieved at the highest level. In simple terms, right concentration is the power to maintain right-mindedness amid external circumstances, a state of mindful presence, peace, and tranquility. Lacking any of the aforementioned factors is called mental concentration, not true single-mindedness. By definition, single-mindedness without distraction in Pure Land practice is right concentration. The 3 mysteries of Vajrayana can also be called right concentration. A Pure Land practitioner does not allow prayers or pleas for external power to intervene. In that moment, the value of right concentration is still present, similar to a meditation practitioner. We can divide concentration into 2 types, based on the given definition: mundane concentration, which is the mental focus on the 3 realms: desire realm, form realm, and formless realm, and sacred concentration, which is the concentration of liberation. Goldsmiths focus intensely to create a masterpiece of jewelry made from gold and diamonds. Scientists and scholars devote themselves to research in laboratories, sometimes forgetting to eat and sleep. But this cannot be called right concentration, because the goal, process, and results achieved still belong to the desire realm, form realm, or formless realm. This is the basic definition by Venerable Buddhaghosa. All forms of mundane concentration do not belong to right concentration. Buddhist right concentration transcends the 3 realms, guiding one towards the right path, based on single-mindedness and right mindfulness, to attain liberation. The distraction of thought. The greatest obstacle to living in right concentration is the practitioner falling into states of attachment to wealth, career, love, past, the future, failure, loss, and suffering. These cause the mind to fall into a state of internal monologue. The more peaceful the environment becomes, the more pronounced the mental distractions become. Practitioners must be very mindful not to let these situations deceive them. If one lets the internal monologue deceive them, after experiencing temporary peace, most practitioners will fall into depression, losing interest in everything in life. Those without experience who attempt to halt this apathetic flow will eventually suffer from mental disorders. A Buddhist once asked, after practicing Liang Sihong's formless meditation for some time, his head felt like it was about to explode. He went for a CT scan, but no illness was found. He also visited psychiatrists. They found nothing concerning. However, constant tension and pain in his head were a persistent problem. We hypothesized, were you focusing your eyes in the center of your forehead? He said that was indeed the case. He asked how I knew, and I replied that his excessive focus was causing the tension and rising fire to his head. During meditation practice, or to achieve right concentration, we should release all muscle and sensory reactions. practitioner focused on the wrong point, causing tension and rising fire to the head. Fortunately, he stopped early. If not, he could have developed a mental disorder. Some practitioners following Liang Xihan's meditation method feel like they are floating. They imagine their consciousness leaving their body, creating a sensation of lightness, floating, relaxation, and comfort. But this is merely an illusion. Many people use this illusion, thinking they are experiencing true happiness or liberation. But in reality, they achieve nothing. Practicing right concentration. The method of practicing right concentration or Buddhist meditation is to ensure that your mind is 100% faithful to your body and breath, not separating from it even a tiny bit. Thanks to the presence of the mind, we can clearly observe the body's operations, emotions, mind, and the objects themselves. The practitioner is able to let go, be still, light, and relaxed. Otherwise, tension will keep increasing. Some people place too much emphasis on focusing on the tip of the nose, creating tension and causing the fire to continue rising to the head. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha teaches to place mindfulness in front. This concept is understood as, do not close your eyes too tightly, as doing so leads to internal monologue. While meditating, we still do not attain right concentration. Opening your eyes 100% will cause you to see external objects, leading to disturbances and making your mind chase after the material world, thereby losing the value of relaxation. Keeping your eyes half closed 30 to 50% allows for calmness to settle in front, based on the cultivation of right mindfulness. This helps bring the mind into a state of stability safely and easily, preventing the fire from rising to the head. Anyone who practices meditation for a while and experiences mental tension or rising heat should stop that method. Practice walking meditation or mindful walking, gently, calmly, and comfortably, allowing the metabolism to refresh and cool the neurons, releasing the tension for a day or two before returning to practice with a guide. When there are any abnormal signs such as tension, fatigue, headaches, sweating, or heat on the top of the head or forehead, these are considered problematic, indicating incorrect practice, and one should consult someone experienced in the field. Many people think they understand and practice on their own, leading to unforeseen consequences. The state of attachment hinders right concentration. Attachment to one's place, loved ones, love, past events, loss, and failure will disturb the mind, preventing peace. Regret and attachment go hand in hand. If someone does not practice letting go of regret and attachment, the more they try to concentrate, the more crises they will face. At that point, images of attachment will dominate and overshadow the entire consciousness of the practitioner. To practice right concentration effectively, one must have right view and right thought. These two are like atomic bombs that destroy attachment and regret. Without practicing right view and right thought, attachment will manifest in right speech, right action, and right livelihood, causing anxiety, preoccupation, and entanglement. We must be aware of this and let go. Supporting right concentration. The fundamental support for practicing right concentration begins with the practice of breathing. By focusing the mind on proper breathing, the practitioner can collect and direct the mind towards a specific object of meditation. The breathing method is not explicitly analyzed in detail in the scriptures, especially in the Pali Canon, because the concepts of long, short, and proper breathing vary from person to person. We practice according to the Buddha's teaching. For example, a very long breath or a very short breath, with clear awareness of the length of the breath as it enters the body through the nose, trachea, and lungs. Wherever its operation reaches, the expansion of the body must occur at that point to be considered correct. For breathing to be effective, the inhalation and exhalation should be silent. Otherwise, after some time, one may suffer from nasal inflammation. The strong heat and cold from outside, colliding with the nasal passages, can cause inflammation, especially when stepping from a warm room into cold air. In such a situation, one should stand still for about 5 to 10 seconds to regulate body temperature before moving again. This allows the body to adjust to the sudden change in climate without causing harm, particularly to the nose. When practicing breathing in right concentration, the practitioner should avoid breathing through the mouth as it causes a loss of body heat and depletes energy, gradually weakening health. The nasal pores have a filtration system that removes toxins and dust, ensuring the air that enters the body is clean and safe. In addition to using the breath as an object of mindfulness, the practitioner must cultivate patience and calmness to achieve right concentration. Without patience and calmness, meditation practice is difficult. Being quick-tempered, irritable, or frustrated will quickly break the power of concentration. Without patience, achieving concentration becomes nearly impossible. A calm person can overcome internal crises and fears without disturbing their concentration. Those who practice concentration diligently can overcome restlessness, anxiety, and fear, making them calm with a gentle, relaxed, and comfortable manner of walking and moving. A practitioner can experience a life of concentration while standing, lying, walking, or sitting. They will not worry about unfinished tasks, past events, future occurrences, regrets, or concerns, enabling them to easily achieve concentration during practice. If one has led a life of ethics, meditation practice only requires attention to the breath, body, and mind, without thinking about anything else. The more responsibilities one has, the harder it is to practice meditation. As soon as they sit, they start recalling old matters or future plans, preventing concentration. One must release all tasks from the moment they arise. Lock the tasks in the circumstances. Lock the past, lock the future, lock people, lock things, lock situations, lock worries, and lock unfinished matters, etc. And what is the measure of this? We notice the mind becoming lighter, more relaxed, peaceful, free, and comfortable. This indicates that we are practicing right concentration correctly. Practicing the wrong method, contrary to the Buddha's teachings, leads to complications, resulting in one illness or another. A practitioner who encounters complications is practicing the wrong method. The results of practicing right concentration. In true meditation, the practitioner develops wisdom and leads a virtuous life, becoming calm and free from fear of criticism or judgment. The level of calmness allows the person to live peacefully and joyfully everywhere, and wisdom arises effortlessly. Just like clear water, objects reflected on the water's surface are clearly seen by the observer. If the water ripples, we see the disturbance of the objects on it, preventing us from seeing them in their true form. Practicing right concentration allows us to clearly see the nature of impermanence, suffering, and non-self occurring in all objects, as well as our emotional reactions to them. Impermanence can occur to anything at any time, through past, present, and future, with anyone, anywhere. The common reaction of ordinary people is to feel dissatisfied, discontented, or to hold on to suffering for a long time. However, those who practice right concentration and cultivate non-self can detach from pain. Pain is not me. I am not trapped in pain. All impermanence and suffering are not me, not my possessions, and not myself. Because of this, the assumed self is freed from the grip of impermanence and suffering. Practicing non-self prevents us from suffering over impermanence. Most people understand impermanence leads to suffering. Impermanence in oneself causes suffering, or even doubles it. Those who practice non-self render suffering ineffective. This is why suffering is placed between impermanence and non-self. We cannot change or negotiate with impermanence, nor can we reverse time. The only way is to practice non-self, so that suffering does not accompany impermanence. Practitioners of concentration, wisdom, and mindfulness can practice non-self. Those who cling to themselves, to their possessions, or who identify phenomena and objects as themselves or their belongings will never attain right concentration. In the Pali Canon, this is the measure used to evaluate whether our concentration practice aligns with the Buddha's teachings or falls into the wrong concentration found in other religions or professions. Thanks to wisdom accompanying concentration, based on mindfulness, a state of clarity and vigor arises, and health is enhanced. Practicing just 10 minutes of right concentration each day can improve one's longevity. If, after practicing for some time, one feels tense, fatigued, irritable, or easily disturbed, it indicates the practice is incorrect. Meditation on various objects. In the Theravada Buddhist tradition, there are 40 meditation objects that help practitioners achieve right concentration, which are rarely studied or known in Mahayana Buddhism. We will briefly introduce these 40 objects, divided into 4 groups. The first group consists of 10 objects, including the 4 elements: earth, water, wind, and fire. 4 colors: blue, yellow, red, and white, space, and light. These are commonly used by meditation practitioners in the Theravada tradition. Focus the mind on a specific object, allowing them to achieve single-mindedness. In the first jhana, as described in the Pali Canon, Vitakka and Vicara are two very important factors. Vitakka refers to searching for a meditation object suitable for oneself, while Vicara is maintaining and abiding with the meditation object for a long time, bringing about a deep inner joy. Whoever can maintain inner joy has perseverance in the practice. Practitioners apply meditation, contemplating the elements of earth, water, wind, fire, blue, yellow, red, white, time, and space, each in their own way. As long as single-mindedness is achieved, and the mind is not swayed by external objects, it is considered successful. In the Shurangama Sutra, there are many passages describing an arahant attains enlightenment by contemplating the internal great earth element. Some practitioners contemplate the external great earth element. The internal great earth element includes all solid principles, things we might mistakenly attach to as part of ourselves. The external great earth element includes mountains, rivers, and the earth, generally referring to material objects, forms, and colors. Any kind of attachment from any perspective creates problems. However, in Theravada meditation, attachment can be used as a positive object. For instance, when contemplating the earth element, it is understood as mental earth. The goal is to cultivate the mental earth of the practitioner, to be as generous as the planet Earth, which holds all things, both clean and dirty, useful and useless. With such a broad-minded approach, the practitioner does not suffer from the uncultured, impolite, or contentious behaviors of others, or from the actions of unpleasant people. The pain caused by others drops off immediately at the point of action, and the practitioner does not carry it into their meditation, where it no longer arises in the mind. Similarly, for water, we can contemplate the profound nature of the sea, which does not hold corpses. Corpse, after swelling for a few days, will be cast ashore unless eaten by fish. Likewise, in spiritual life, practitioners should not hold on to the corpses of immorality, actions that go against sacred values. The jewel of morality should be kept pure, without blemish. For wind, one can contemplate its movement, blowing from place to place without stopping, creating the image of non-attachment. The song by the late musician Treat Kung Sun, titled "Let the Wind Take It Away," captures this sentiment well. Living in life, we need a kind heart. What for, do you know? So the wind can take it away. The wind can take it away. He suggests letting water wash away pain, holding on to nothing. Those who cling too much to attachments in their hearts will find it difficult to practice meditation. Fire has the function of burning. On the negative side, it can be understood as anger. On the positive side, it can be understood as wisdom, burning away afflictions. Earth, water, wind, and fire have no direct relevance to our lives but can serve as objects of contemplation. Blue, yellow, red, and white are understood as colors that may or may not match our preferences, and they can also become objects of meditation. In the field of feng shui, the 5 elements are applied to all things and phenomena. Colors are also associated with metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Humans, too, are composed of these 5 elements. Their interactions occur in 2 ways, either generating or destroying, harmonious or oppositional. Fire burns wood, creating ash that turns into earth. Earth is where metal ores exist and develop, so earth generates metal. All metals, when heated to a certain degree, turn into liquid. The metal generates water. Water nourishes plants, allowing crops to grow. The water generates wood. Wood serves as fuel, creating fire, and thus wood generates fire. This cycle continues. Understanding this physical principle, we can see that contemplating colors and decorating our home or environment plays a significant role in how comfortable or uncomfortable we feel. Buddhism does not deny the scientific aspect of feng shui, but criticizes exaggerated claims that feng shui can determine one's fate, happiness, suffering, success, failure, wealth, or poverty. Such claims are unfounded. Feng shui merely provides a sense of comfort. Life also depends on the collective karma of a nation. For example, in Buddhist belief, the color yellow symbolizes liberation. When monks wear yellow robes, they feel calm and light, striving to align with that sense of liberation. Lay people, when seeing monks in yellow robes, feel joy. But in Tibet, yellow robes are not used. They wear maroon robes because their culture associates that color with monastic life. Chinese and Japanese patriarchs used black robes for lay Buddhists, and they felt comfortable as well. Each culture has different symbols for colors. Blue, yellow, red, and white are personal choices based on collective karma, individual karma, or the interaction of the 5 elements, as long as they feel appropriate and bring comfort. The Chinese favor the color red, so temples, shrines, and monasteries often have a red theme. In Chinese culture, red symbolizes harmony, while in Vietnam, red is considered a hot color. Harmony between people, between humans and nature, and between humans and the world is why the red color is understood in folk traditions as symbolizing harmony, brings good luck, prosperity, and success. This is why red envelopes, known as hong bao, are red and not any other color. New Year greeting cards are also often made in red. Meanwhile, in Buddhism, the harmonious color is decaying color, which is a dull yellowish brown. This color is a mix of brown, yellow, and earth tones. Each culture selects its own cultural color tones. Therefore, blue, yellow, red, and white can all become subjects for us to contemplate during meditation. Space is boundless, without borders or limits. Contemplating the mind as being like space helps the practitioner feel relaxed and unburdened. All planets and stars move within their respective solar systems, floating in space and interacting with each other, though they do not fall. Only when their orbits collide at a point do large impacts occur, turning planets and stars into meteors falling in space. At night, when we observe them with reflective light, we think they are stars. By the time we see them, they no longer exist in the universe. They have become fragments of meteorites falling through space. Contemplating space will help the practitioner's mind become relaxed and comfortable. Light has the ability to illuminate, guide, and prevent misunderstandings, errors, and stumbles. When we contemplate in this way, our mind focuses on positive points. All other negative aspects fall away. Choosing a suitable object of meditation helps the practitioner concentrate better, so good advice is essential. We should experiment with different objects and develop the one that helps us concentrate the most. Meditation on corpse object. The second group of 10 meditation objects relates to corpses and the stages they go through. Practitioners who choose a corpse as their meditation object should understand that if they are attached to their body, viewing it as supreme, constantly caring for their appearance, or feeling self-conscious about aging or physical decline, contemplating a corpse can help them overcome this mindset. Those who are inclined to indulge in bodily pleasures may find corpse meditation disgusting enough to help them renounce such desires. These 10 objects are only suitable for those specific groups. For those who perceive life as constant, observing the decay of a corpse may give them the opposite feeling and help them transcend attachment to permanence. The stages of a corpse include bloating as the first stage. After clinical death has ended and real death occurs, the next stage is the blue-gray coloration that causes the face and skin of the deceased to give onlookers a feeling of dread and haunting. Pus and fluids seep out of the nose and pores, accompanied by an unpleasant smell. In some cases, the body is mutilated, either by weapons, large animals, or accident, causing it to be mangled, covered in blood and pus, or dismembered, or the body may be bruised and bloodied all over. The corpse may be lying in a pool of blood, being eaten by maggots, which slowly devour the body. After a long time underground, the body will become dismembered, making it impossible to reconnect the parts. These 10 stages of corpse contemplation help people feel disgusted by the body, allowing them to escape sexual desire or excessive attachment to the body as their own possession. In the past 5 years, the technology for creating synthetic diamonds has advanced considerably. People can extract carbon, the main component of diamonds, under extremely high pressure, where the molecules and atoms are compressed thousands of times more than usual, shrinking a large mass into a small, sparkling diamond almost indistinguishable from natural diamonds. Only professionals can tell the difference between synthetic and natural diamonds. In the West today, ashes of the deceased are being turned into 1 or 2 diamonds, costing about $2,000 in Vietnam. This practice has been around for nearly 5 years in other countries. Vietnam is just starting, and acceptance is not yet widespread. A single machine costs millions of dollars. Recently, Vietnamese investors have begun visiting temples that house urns to encourage the families of the deceased to transform ashes into diamonds, hoping to alleviate the attachment to impermanence. This idea is difficult to succeed in because persuading people to spend nearly 40 million VN dollars, approximately $2,000, create a diamond from the ashes of their loved ones is not something anyone would easily agree to. Secondly, people believe that once someone has been cremated, disturbing the remains again might disrupt peace. Due to superstition, people are hesitant to go through with it. Furthermore, where would they keep the diamond? Carrying it around on a ring would mean constantly moving it. If it's their parents or loved ones, they would want to honor them. But what if the diamond is lost? From a jar of ashes compressed into a diamond, carbon, the main component of diamonds, binds the atoms and molecules together. A large mass is reduced to a small diamond, and many relatives don't feel that these two are equivalent. Aside from the carbon, what happens to the rest of the ashes? Naturally, they would be discarded. Whether people agree to that is another matter entirely. In Japan, years ago, a technology called transforming into Buddha was developed. For example, in a temple where urns had been stored for several decades, to make all the families happy, instead of encouraging them to scatter the ashes into the sea, which many people could not bear to do, or into the ground to fertilize plants, which left people uneasy despite the Buddha's teachings, they used a diamond compression method. All the ashes were compressed into sparkling Buddha statues. The relatives of the deceased felt happy and at peace when they paid homage to their loved ones in this new form, as they no longer saw the ashes being discarded, but rather turned into revered objects. However, this movement never gained much traction in Japan. I have suggested that the urns be transformed into lotus flowers, with a wooden base inscribed with the names of the deceased. From a large, heavy urn weighing about 3 kilograms, it could be compressed into a stone lotus flower using diamond technology, costing around $700 to $800 per urn. In the temple's urn room, using this new technology, there would no longer be a gloomy atmosphere. Those who visit would feel happier and more liberated. I sincerely hope this technology develops soon so that temples become places for worshiping Buddha, without keeping urns. The images of the deceased should be burned and transformed into collective lotus flowers. For example, urns that no longer have living relatives could be transformed into larger lotus flowers, with the names and images of the deceased compressed using this technology. By contemplating death through this new technology, we could introduce many new images for meditation. A bloated corpse, after passing through 10 stages of decay, could be transformed into a jewel or a stone with any shape we desire, or even refined into a diamond, carrying immense value. The somber atmosphere of death would fade away, and the pain of impermanence and mortality would lessen. Practitioners could focus on their meditation and succeed. The 10 recollection objects. The third set of 10 meditation objects relates to the 10 recollections, of which 6 are the 6 recollections found in the Pali Canon: recollection of the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, morality, generosity, and the celestial being's blessing. These are the 6 objects that the Buddha recommended for lay practitioners to cultivate. Recollecting the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha helps prevent us from falling into superstition. Believing in the Buddha, we no longer believe in gods or deities who grant blessings or bring misfortune, fate, or destiny. We do not view the Buddha as a substitute for these gods. Instead, we see the Buddha as the light that guides our way and the person who shows us how to practice. When we recollect the Dharma, we contemplate 5 characteristics: its practicality in the present, its timelessness, its ability to be experienced directly, its praise by the wise, and its capacity to transform ordinary beings into noble ones. Recollecting the Sangha allows us to see the harmony symbolized by the Sangha, as pure and unified as milk and water, and the progress made through continuous, diligent practice, serving as an ideal model for human life at its highest level. Recollecting generosity reminds us to share food and clothing with those in need, help the poor. For those in urgent need, we give a fish. For those in poverty, we give a fishing rod. Understanding the nature of each situation, whether to give a fish or a fishing rod, is essential for charity to be effective. When someone is in immediate need, giving a fishing rod without addressing their current situation may delay their ability to become self-sufficient. Recollecting morality helps us recognize that by living ethically, we have nothing to fear from the law or from criticism. We become fearless, calm, and steady in life. Recollection of the blessings of being born into the realm of heavenly beings helps us to see that karma is real and that future lives are not just a fantasy. In addition to recollecting the 6 objects mentioned earlier, practitioners are also encouraged to recollect death, the body, the breath, and nirvana, collectively known as the 10 recollections. Recollection of nirvana is the highest level. Nirvana is not a physical realm or a location, as some may think, although in the scriptures, imagery is sometimes used to help us visualize it. Nirvana is a state where greed, hatred, and delusion, along with defilements and karmic obstacles, no longer exist. It is a state of purity, peace, stillness, and permanence, unchanging. All of us can practice this in various ways. When recollecting the breath, there's a sutra detailing 16 steps of mindful breathing. The Buddha provides very detailed instructions for training the mind in concentration. Following these 16 steps leads to a high level of success. Simply breathing in and out mechanically, in a dull and monotonous way, will not yield results. The Satipatthana Sutta speaks about contemplating the body, focusing on the 36 impurities, its composition, formation, and changes, and recognizing its limitations. Through wisdom, we can detach from clinging to the self, seeing the body as not self or a possession, contemplating the 4 immeasurables and the realm of infinite consciousness. Fourth group consists of the 4 immeasurables, 4 formless realms, contemplation of disgusting food, and the 4 great elements within the body. Some overlap with methods from the previous groups. The 4 immeasurables are loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Most practitioners focus on these more than the previously listed factor. Contemplating loving kindness helps us act like bodhisattvas, bringing joy to others. Contemplating compassion helps us become more active, analyzing the roots of others' suffering to uproot it. Bringing joy is easy, but removing suffering is harder. To remove suffering, we must have knowledge of its cause and apply wisdom and methods to resolve it. Those who practice compassion must fully understand the 4 noble truths. Contemplating loving kindness can be learned through the example of Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara or other bodhisattvas. Practicing joy involves cultivating happiness through contentment, smiles, and relaxation, without attachment or entanglement, which is closely linked to equanimity. Loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity form a pair that complement each other, leading to great success in practice. Without these 4, concentration is difficult to attain. The 4 formless realms, originally a practice of non-Buddhist ascetics, involve contemplating non-existence in all places. Contemplation of the realm of infinite space helps practitioners face impermanence without regret. Regret being the enemy, the thorn, and the obstacle to concentration. Contemplation of the realm of infinite consciousness allows us to recognize that consciousness with mindfulness is present everywhere. Wherever we are, awareness and intention enable us to control the senses. The realm of nothingness practice is closely tied to non-self, helping us avoid attachment. Often, suffering arises not from concern for oneself, but from attachment to one's possessions, loved ones, or relations. Contemplation of nothingness helps us overcome this. Contemplation of the realm of neither perception nor non-perception allows us to transform perceptions, particularly subconscious ones. This process is subtle and deep, and it is difficult to trace the cause. Practicing this helps practitioners overcome negative tendencies and achieve positive results. Original Buddhist meditation includes only the 4 jhanas. The 4 formless jhanas belong to non-Buddhist traditions. In the Shurangama Sutra, the Buddha provides guidance for practitioners. Those who reach the realm of neither perception nor non-perception make a mistake if they continue into the state of cessation of perception and feeling. Practitioners in this state feel calm and at peace, with nothing to disturb them, and they mistakenly believe they have attained absolute liberation. However, when they relinquish the state of cessation of perception and feeling, they still see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. They return to being ordinary people. The Buddha did not encourage the state of cessation of perception and feeling, nor the four formless jhanas. However, these are useful methods that practitioners can borrow. When reaching the realm of neither perception nor non-perception, or even the initial stages of the form jhanas, a wise practitioner should direct the mind towards the threefold knowledge, pevija, to attain the fourfold wisdom. According to the Theravada tradition, a person who attains the threefold knowledge has the ability to clearly see that birth has ended, virtuous conduct has been fulfilled, and what needs to be done has been completed, meaning they no longer return to the cycle of birth and death. This is the fundamental difference between a Buddhist meditation practitioner and a practitioner of Brahmanism or other religions. Turning the mind toward the threefold knowledge allows one to clearly see their past, from general to detailed aspects, such as in which life, what status, name, family, event, circumstances, during various historical periods, down to specific years, months, days, and hours. We see clearly what is before us without confusion. The knowledge of divine sight, clairvoyance, allows one to see the future karma of sentient beings. Some psychics attain a portion of this, while prophets attain it to a greater degree. The Mahayana Sutra's prophetic literature is a part of divine sight, foretelling someone's future Buddhahood, their name, method of teaching, and results. Scientists can calculate the workings of the universe for 100 or 200 years into the future. Experience can help us reach this level, let alone the power of spiritual attainment, which is even more accurate. Meanwhile, the knowledge of the cessation of defilements, asavakayanan, is the highest and most important wisdom for a practitioner who attains the arahant stage. They see clearly that defilements have fallen away, and nothing of the worldly life remains, not even an obsession, a remnant, or a shadow. When turning the mind toward the threefold knowledge, a practitioner will attain realization. However, focusing on the state of cessation of perception and feeling causes a halt, which is why the original Buddhist meditation method is the four jhanas. The four formless jhanas combined with the four form jhanas are called the 9 successive absorption, Nava Anupubha Vihara. Many people misunderstand these, thinking the four form jhanas are lower than the four formless jhanas, and even lower than the state of cessation of perception and feeling. However, in the Pali Canon, the Buddha advises that upon reaching the fourth jhana, one should turn the mind toward the threefold knowledge to attain realization. Practitioners do not need to use the four formless jhanas, especially the state of cessation of perception and feeling. Bodhidharma is said to have entered the state of cessation of perception and feeling for the longest period, 9 years facing the wall. The Buddha, however, only practiced for 49 days. Afterward, he turned his mind toward the threefold knowledge, attaining liberation through the middle path, with right concentration of the Noble Eightfold Path as the core. Theravada meditation methods still use the four jhanas because they support certain practitioners. Contemplation of food. Contemplating food as disgusting helps practitioners understand the dangers of overindulgence. Foods that are considered delicious are often harmful. For example, Chinese cuisine has a culinary wonder where a live red fish is taken from a pond. The chef uses a sharp knife to slice the fish 5 or 6 times on each side while it struggles, then fries it in oil for 10 to 20 seconds. When taken out, fish is still gasping, its heart beating, but its flesh is cooked. Another example involves catching a chicken, cleaning its legs, plucking its thigh feathers, and placing it on a hot grill for about 20 seconds. All the blood rushes to its thighs. When taken off the grill, its thigh meat is cooked while the rest of the body is still alive, and people break off the thighs to eat. The more delicious the food, the higher the level of cruelty and brutality involved. Chinese culinary culture is indeed bizarre. Everything is edible. Vietnam has followed suit, eating insects such as worms, ants, termites, and beetles. In Cambodia, even fireflies and scorpions are consumed. Those accustomed to this karmic culture find it normal. Eating Cambodian prahok involves a high level of killing karma. The Buddha taught that contemplating food as disgusting is essential because even a small hygiene mistake can lead to numerous diseases. Overeating can be fatal. Vegetarianism is better because it involves fewer toxins and less killing of microorganisms than eating meat. It also has less impact on the ecological environment, global warming, or the greenhouse effect compared to meat production. The technology behind meat production is abundant, relying on machines and reducing human labor to the maximum, leading to widespread unemployment. Mahayana Buddhism uses many other methods. For example, in the practice of Buddha recollection, one does not merely recite Namo Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened one, perfect in wisdom and conduct, well gone, knower of the world, incomparable leader, teacher of gods and humans, Buddha, world-honored one, the 10 titles of the Buddha. They also recite the names of Amitabha Buddha, Medicine Buddha, Vairocana Buddha, and many other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Theravada Buddhism is more limited to the historical Buddha and his 10 main titles. In Mahayana Buddhism, there are various ways to contemplate the Dharma. For example, the Dharma is likened to a raft, which we must not cling to. We use the Dharma to transform non-Dharma elements, and once we achieve the result, we leave the raft behind on the other shore. There are many other methods of contemplation. We use a light, relaxed, and detached sense of inner peace, happiness, and contentment as the standard measure. If we do not achieve this result, we know that we are practicing incorrectly. The 5 factors of concentration. In the first jhana, initial meditative absorption, there are 5 factors: vitakka, initial application of thought; vicara, sustained application of thought; joy; piti, happiness; sukha, and concentration, samadhi. Vitakka and vicara involve finding an object of meditation, choosing one from the 40 meditation objects mentioned earlier. The mind is focused on this object, preventing it from being distracted by external sense objects. In the Chan Zen tradition of Chinese Mahayana, this is often referred to as the koan, or huato, critical phrase. In Vajrayana Tantric Buddhism, focus is on a mantra. In Pure Land Buddhism, right mindfulness is directed towards the name of Amitabha Buddha, binding the mind to one place. Joy and happiness are 2 different levels. Joy is a feeling of delight towards oneself and others, while happiness is a deeper inner peace, independent of sensory experience. The practitioner sits still and quiet, achieving a high level of inner calm, which leads to concentration. The Pali Canon clearly states that one must abandon a life of sensual desire in order to attain meditative concentration. Lay people cannot reach the first jhana if they are still engaged in married life. Only those who are celibate, or if one partner passes away and the other does not remarry, may have the potential to reach the first jhana. Right concentration is the gateway to the first, second, third, and fourth jhanas. At higher levels, vitakka and vicara are abandoned, and there is no need to rely on objects or techniques. The 40 meditation objects are intended for beginners. More experienced practitioners can unlock and close them instantly. Joy, happiness, and one-pointedness are still retained. In the third jhana, deep inner joy is let go. In the fourth jhana, all thoughts, even pure thoughts, are abandoned. Only when all thoughts are released can one achieve absolute purity and deep serenity. Practitioners of right concentration can attain the first, second, third, and fourth jhanas. Upon reaching the fourth jhana, the practitioner should turn their mind toward the threefold knowledge, thereby attaining the fruit of the path. In summary, right concentration resolves the problem of suffering. Right view initiates the spiritual journey at the highest level. The remaining 6 factors are essential and cannot be omitted. Without completing all 7 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, it is difficult to attain right concentration. Regardless of the method of practice, practitioners must cultivate the first 7 factors, from right view to right mindfulness, in order to achieve right concentration at its highest level. Skipping the first 7 factors makes right concentration unattainable. This is something we must believe. Through right concentration, wisdom arises and the practitioner attains liberation.